Parks. You know parks? Look at all these parks. Looks great, doesn't it? I bet there's a ghost there. Anyways, grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and let's see if there is, with 3 of these true ghost stories from the park. Ghost Girl at Park. A few nights ago, I was walking my dogs. It was Saturday at around 8:30 p.m. Normally, I don't walk my dogs at night, but my dad was working late and my mom was baking, so I had to. When I walk my dogs, I tend to see one shadow person every so often. I usually walk my dogs outside my community due to more walking space for them. Right across the street, there's a little park with 4 swings, a bench, and a slide all in a big sandbox. I'm a strong believer in ghosts, spirits, demons, etc. I do believe I can feel when a ghost is around me, and I can see them. I know this because I have seen a few. So this particular evening, I was walking my dogs. Then out of nowhere, the dogs looked right at the bench and started growling, like when a person walks by. I looked to see if there was a person coming, but there was no one. Then, all of a sudden, I saw what looked like a little girl with long blonde hair, a long blue dress, and a white shirt walking towards one of the swings. I know she wasn't a person because I could see right through her. I rubbed my eyes and she was still walking towards the swings. Once again, I rubbed my eyes. Then she was just gone, as if she was never even at the park. I wanted to make sure I wasn't seeing a real person. I went across the street to check. There were no footprints in the sand at all, and it didn't look like someone tried to hide. Just as I turned around, I heard one of the swings start moving. I jumped around to see one of the swings moving back and forth, back and forth. At this point, I just started running at full speed, scared out of my wits. As I ran home, I didn't want to look back at the park. It seemed like an hour to return from the park, about 100 yards to my house. I still walk my dogs the same way, hoping to see the ghost again. Yes, I know this is weird seeing how I was scared the first time, but I still want to see if she will show up again. Something about McKinley Park. I just moved to LaSalle, Illinois about 2 years ago. My cousin used to drive me past this park during the day, and I always felt a little weird about it. I didn't know anything about the place until recently. My cousin and I were playing Ghost Hunters, and she sent me a link about McKinley Park in Peru. I read the story, and so many more that I didn't remember the details when we drove past it one evening. I thought it was something about a baby crying late at night. I had a strange feeling. A feeling of fear. I started to cry and had shivers go up my spine. I told my cousin that there was something about the baseball field I couldn't figure out, but why a baby, right? It had to be someone older than an infant. A few minutes later, I arrived home and searched the internet again. I found the story regarding this park, and it said it used to be a school. A boy died in the basement. They tore down the school and made it into a baseball diamond. I drove past this park again 2 nights ago, and again this time I started crying, and I felt the worst fear I've ever felt in my entire life, and immediately I stopped my car right there. I told my cousin I couldn't go down the street. I reversed my car and sped as legally as fast as I could and got out of that area quickly. I've never seen a ghost or anything. I felt its presence, and it didn't feel too good. I'm hoping this was all in my head, so to speak, because I'm really scared even to think about going past there at night. The Haunting at Riverside Park. My family moved to a house located 2 blocks from Riverside Park in Wausau, Wisconsin in 1989, the summer before I was to enter the 2nd grade. I was so young. Being that the park was close, the neighborhood kids and I spent most of our summer vacation there, playing tag, fishing, and bike riding. There's a bridge that connects the main park to another section called Ferns Island. Obviously the name because that area is surrounded by water. The water, of course, is jet black, either polluted or evil. The kids refused to go to that section of the park because, well, allegedly, it's the most haunted. The story went that hundreds of years ago, a witch inhabited the park area. There was a boy who was fishing in the area and fell in the river, then drowned. The townspeople blamed the witch and burnt her tiny hut. A bloody battle rose between the witch and the townspeople. Bodies of those townspeople were thrown in the river. Finally, when the battle ended, the townspeople buried the dead and left that area. The witch disappeared, but its spirit still roamed the park. I've never investigated the story to confirm if it's true or not. My cousins had an experience at Riverside once, though. One night, the cousins were hanging out with friends in the parking lot, standing outside their cars and talking. The only source of light was the vehicle headlights. All the park lights were dead. Gang members once infested the park, and the city just gave up on cleaning it up. The group heard slurping sounds and splashing water. They looked towards the river and saw a dark figure hunched over near the riverbank as if peeling and eating something. The figure turned around and a pair of red eyes stared back at them. As the figure walked closer, the group jumped into their cars and drove off, never looking back. They told the story to my father. The next morning, my father went to investigate. He came back with a report that there were open crayfish shells and a decaying fish on the riverbank, but nothing more. The next story comes from my older brother, CK. CK worked the 2nd shift, and he got off work at around midnight. Having such a work schedule for weeks, he hasn't seen his buddies. So during one of his breaks, he calls his friends and sets up a time to hang out that night after work. They choose Riverside to meet up since it was close to where the friends lived and his workplace. After CK got off work, he drove past IGA, a supermarket, where he saw his buddies in the parking lot, loading beer to the back trunk of their car. CK waved to them, the guys waved back. CK went to Riverside to wait for the guys. He parked close to the riverbank, rolled down the driver's side window about an inch, then pulled down his seat and laid down looking at the night sky in his car. All of a sudden, he sees a woman with flowing blonde hair running past his car. She then came up to his window and tapped on it. CK got up and asked her what she wanted. At first, she thought the woman was a victim of rape because her clothes were ripped and her hair was distressed. It turns out, it was nothing like CK had expected. The woman was in hysterical mode and she was crying like crazy. She slid her fingers through the driver's window opening and told CK, "Everyone's dying. You have to help me. An old witch is down there. She's killing everyone. She killed my family. It's so bloody down there." She wiggled her fingers towards CK. Thinking she was just another nut, CK quickly closed his window. The woman jumped back. CK then backed out of the parking lot. Just as he was doing so, his buddies drove in the parking lot, and the woman walked in between the vehicles just as they were passing each other. CK got out of his car and ran towards his friends. The woman was nowhere to be found. "Did you see her? Tell me you saw her," CK shouted at his friends. "Who?" they asked. "That woman! She ran right in between our cars just as you guys were coming," CK said. "We didn't see anyone," was their response. Then CK said, "Man, what took you guys so long? You guys were just at IGA. It only takes 2 minutes to get here." The guys looked at each other and said, "What are you talking about? We were never at IGA. We came from the east side. We had to go pick up some stuff at my house." CK and the guys looked at each other and left home. They never, ever met up at Riverside again.